Okay, here we go with another unedited grayscale video on the fatty files, I suppose. This one I've attempted to encapsulate before, just speaking about it, and it's kind of tough to do, and I'm going to really try to do this in a condensed amount of time, sort of as a little brain teaser on not just speaking and rambling on forever. Uh, so yeah, I'm going to speak quickly here and try to get it as condensed as possible. The idea has to do with this tarot and fitness idea, and it's kind of what sent me down the rabbit hole to begin with. And it's this idea of what I call the Xuldrake. Now, that's kind of not a made up word, but kind of a nonsense word, I suppose, that I've assigned to this thing that I discovered. I'm going to go with discovered, okay? The issue is that you have to sort of have a basic magical understanding of a couple of things in order to get this. Number one is the concept of an egregore. And then in order to understand an egregore, you have to understand a thought form. So let me start with thought forms. Thought forms, also known as tulpas. Tulpas are the more Eastern sense of the concept, but is a energetic creature, or in my mind, not really energetic, but an unconscious creature that is intentionally created by a practitioner, a magician, in order to serve a specific purpose. It's almost like character creation in an odd way, but more than that. You're putting this thing on a pedestal that is more than just a simple character. You're actually trying to give it life and have it benefit you in some way in reality. An egregore is a group attempt at that. So if you had, let's just, to simplify things, let's just say a coven, okay, whatever that means to you, a group of people, a group of magical practitioners, and they come together and decide to make a singular creature using all of their efforts and all of their subconscious effort, I guess, is just where I'm going to leave it. That is an egregore. So basically the difference between a thought form slash tulpa or a egregore is how many people create it, right? I'm going to get into the weeds here. Another thing is some people use the term thought form for just as an umbrella term. So to those folks, a tulpa and a egregore would both be a thought form. Some folks say that thought forms are just created by a singular person. Okay, so now I think we've got a basic understanding of that, right? The next layer is a concept that I have, I guess, come up with, started experimenting with. It's the idea of an unconscious egregore, okay? So this, by definition, would be an egregore, which I just previously described, that's created by a group of people, like a large mass group of people. And this egregore behaves in the same way, but is not really controlled, and is more of a rogue, and is more of even more subconscious in some ways, because it's not really thought of as an egregore. Biggest example I can think of is Santa Claus, right? It's just so many people trying to encapsulate this thing in so many different ways, and everyone knows what Santa Claus is if you're around, right? If Santa Claus is a thing in your culture, in your society, you know what that is. Interestingly enough, I think that subconscious egregores have to do with money sometimes, right? If something becomes valuable, if the image of Santa Claus sells, which it does, millions and billions of Christmas cards and bags and ornaments and everything a year, right? it's more likely to become an unconscious egregore if it's widely accepted, and in order as kind of a tagline, if you follow the money, right? So the point there is no one really sits down and is like, I'm going to give Santa Claus my thoughtful energy. I'm going to try to create Santa Claus. But yet it happens, right? Okay. The Xuldrake is a specific unconscious thought form created by different industries and different things like that keeps individuals fat, okay? Keeps individuals obese and encourages them to be lazy, encourages them to not exercise, encourages them to be sedentary, encourages them to make excuses, encourages them to follow the wrong information, which is a big thing, and kind of intentionally get them to fail, but make them believe that it's their fault. This is where it gets really wide, right? There's a wide variety of this stuff, okay? I would beg to state that this egregore is also an American thought form. Just because obesity is such a problem in the United States and it's so ingrained into the culture, similar to Santa Claus, right? So I've never put it this way before, but basically this is the Santa Claus of being fat, right? Like, nobody's named it before. We understand the concept in the egregore of Santa Claus because even though it's unconscious, we've named it and it has parameters. This unconscious egregore, which again makes a lot of money for a lot of different people. There's a lot of money in keeping people fat for certain individuals, okay? Now, in certain groups. Do I think all those groups are working together in some sort of Illuminati, secret society? No. Okay, it's much more likely that it's an unconscious effort, right? Unconscious effort almost seems like a misnomer. Like, it seems like a catch-22, right? Like, but that's what I'm going to go with, okay? We are about 7 minutes in. I'll go a little deeper here. Let's talk about some specifics on what fuels the Xuldrake, right? So one of the most personal ones is poverty and the idea that you are, that it's okay to eat like massive amounts of food because you have to eat, right? So an example of this is, let's say that you're in poverty and you don't have money to spend on entertainment, you don't have money to spend on extra things, on extra comforts. It's really easy to explain buying extra food for yourself because it makes you feel better, and you can blame it on the excuse of, oh, everybody has to eat, right? It's this concept of you need so many calories a day to be happy, and you just eat and eat and eat, right? I don't know what the average American's calorie count is. It's easily Googleable. It's 2026 right now. If you wanted to check that out, I'm sure that it's interesting. But yeah, sort of lost my train of thought, but not really. The idea of making yourself comfortable with food, so many people cash in on that, right? Every fast food, grocery stores, every single piece of psyopness of putting the candy at the register, right? All of this stuff that honestly in other countries and other places isn't like this. The idea of adding things to food that really shouldn't be there, right? For preserving food and everything that goes into making food cheaper. There's a whole rabbit hole to go down on the high fructose corn syrup change that happened. I believe it was 80s, late 70s, early 80s, something like that. I think it was probably late 70s when it happened, and early 80s is when those results really started being seen. But just on how much that impacted individuals, right? The idea is fat people are kind of like cattle that can be milked. Just in the industries that I've already mentioned. And then there's the medical side of things, right? How many times does a fat person have to go to the hospital for preventable diseases and things like that, and things associated with their weight? How much money does that make the healthcare system, right? A lot. Okay. Then there's the idea of selling the cure, right? Everywhere you look, there's a new weight loss drug, right? So you get the pharmaceutical companies getting in on this too. Then you get the side of it, again, it's selling the cure with the exercise industry, the fitness industry. Then there's the social media aspect of, again, that fitness industry that kind of morphs and changes away from science and goes into fad stuff. So this person can sell their specific brand of protein powder, right? Then it just keeps going, and I'm going to stop for right now, right? There's the last one I want to stop with. I'll stop after this one, is the idea of the one that's the most insidious, I think, and the hardest to break down for me personally, but the idea of, I call it the hearth and home idea, like coming together around food, right? And eating as a family or with your friends or whatever, like that's a signifier of unity. But that is also when you're all big or somebody's trying to force feed another, that becomes this weird power dynamic where it's almost like if you don't eat with everyone else and as much as everyone else, you're kind of shamed or excluded from certain things, right? Like there's a camaraderie, and again, I'm not making fun of people. This is me, okay? I'm however many pounds, 70 whatever pounds down, but that doesn't mean that I'm at all through with my goals or at all have escaped the fatness. I have not. Okay. So please don't think that I'm making fun. But yeah, that idea of food being the central focus of family dynamics and even of dating, right? Everyone goes out to dinner, right? It's really, really hard to break that. And then yeah, it goes on and on. So God, this was as convoluted as the last one, but I'm just gonna put it up, and no edits, no nothing, all the ums and ands and buts and all that shit in there, just because I really want to get this out there. Final thought is the discovery of this thing. And I do believe it's a discovery, right? You can easily say this is something you created in your mind. This thing doesn't exist and you're crazy. This is pretty unhinged. I understand that. Okay. It's fine. It's just, this is what I needed to discover. And in my mind, it is discover in order to have something to fight, to give a name to the Santa Claus of fatness, so I can understand the dynamics of it. We are right at 14 minutes and we're going to quit there. Yeah.